Welcome, everybody. Welcome from Cape Town, South Africa. And I am as excited as you are to welcome Dr. Olufemi. In the meantime, just some housekeeping. I'm going to hand over to my co-host, Helen, and she'll inform you about this evening. And also just if we can ask that you keep your microphones muted, please.
A warm welcome to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you from all over the world. We are so honored and privileged to be here with you tonight. I'm so honored to be here with Tanya and Dr. Olufemi as well. He's on his way, by the way, just give us a few minutes. In the meantime, I want to welcome you to this informative presentation that we'll be hosting tonight, an initiative to bridge the gap between innovative healing technologies and our medical communities, looking at an unbelievable exploration into this light transforming technology that we are currently working with, that is transforming lives all over the globe. And we are so excited to share this with you and our experience with the technology as well. I just want a hands up, please, from all of you, or just an indication of who of you are currently members. If you are, could you put a number 1 in the chat? And if you are not currently a brand partner or a member or having used Lifewave patches at all, can you please put a 2 in the chat for us? That'll be great, just to get an indication of where you currently are at on this journey. All right.
I've been notified that Doctor has entered the room.
Wonderful. Dr. Olufemi, could you unmute yourselves? We are so blessed to have you here. Tanya is going to welcome you. We have the honor and privilege to be here with you today. And the audience is going to be very excited and certainly going to walk away from this meeting far richer than when they entered the room, due to your wonderful experience that you'll be sharing with us, your expertise and your great wisdom. Tanya, over to you.
Thank you so much, Helen. Okay, so many of us are familiar with Dr. Olufemi. He is somewhat of a rock star in our medical practitioners group. And I'm going to use a phrase. I don't know if you may be familiar with the idea of, or the concept of a little dog, those like chihuahuas that bark at cars driving past, and they want to run and catch the wheel of the car. Today, I feel like I'm one of those dogs that have caught a bus. So I was guided to just ask Dr. Olufemi whether he would join us on this call on this evening. And he said yes. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, we'll be doing this evening. So very, very honored to have Dr. Olufemi with us. To give you a little bit of his background, he graduated from med school in 1978. So he's been practicing this field now for, I think, 47 years about, yeah. And he has a passion for nutrition and longevity. So he started studying nutrition in 1995 through the College of Nutritional Medicine and the Institute of Optimum Nutrition in London. He has very much the philosophy of wellness over disease management, which is why I think he's so beautifully aligned with the technology that David Schmidt has created and that which we're representing here this evening. A science-based approach to health, meaning that he uses blood analysis to detect early signs of imbalance, so often years before disease manifests. And yeah, we'll just wait for him to come on because I don't want to give too much of his story away. I'd like us to explore that together with him. And then just a little bit about my co-host, Helen Muskidis. Did I pronounce her correctly?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And she's joining us from Cyprus. I speak just a tad bit of Greek, so we can at least say hello and goodbye to one another in Greek.
Don't worry, to me too.
Yeah. And so Helen has a very, very rich background in business and mostly in the sphere of wellness and physical education. She's also a personal trainer. and is very, very passionate about health, holistic well-being. So a diverse background in movement and fitness, studied various disciplines, including ballet, contemporary dance, gymstic fitness, which is an alignment speciality, I think, aerobics, Pilates, and also in the rehabilitation part of Pilates, which I'm very familiar with, and it's a beautiful teaching. Global experience in health and fitness. And so I know that here in South Africa, we had the Health and Racket Club. And I know Helen was very much involved with them. And then event coordinator with the Cyprus World Amateur Games in 2019, shows her commitment to global health initiatives, holistic approach to wellness, which I think is her alignment, obviously, with Dr. Olufemi, and also the alignment here with Lifewave. So, Helen, maybe while we wait for Doctor to join us, it seems that he's still in the background there.
Yes, he's here, yes.
I am right here with you.
Ah, you are with us. Welcome, welcome.
I have been listening to you. It's wonderful to be here.
We're so honored to have you with us, Doctor. And thank you for joining us. I know that you've rushed from your office to be here to make this call for us, because you're 2 hours behind our time zone. So I think it's 7 o'clock your time now.
Correct.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening. So the format this evening is very much that I would like our audience to get to know you, because we see the incredible work that you put into our practitioners group, and the education and the mentorship that you're offering us with every case. You so meticulously, and you know, I can definitely sense the caring that you the approach that you take to dealing with each individual case. And these aren't your patients, you know, you clearly are a man that cares deeply for humanity. And that shows in every word that you write in that group and in that WhatsApp message. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I don't think I deserve as much as you're saying, but there is only one reason to be in medicine. And that one is to make sure people are well. Unfortunately, over a lifetime practice that's coming close to 50 years, I think I have seen medicine go backwards a little bit. And we started by ceding control to equipment and machines and things like that. And I think, lost was drilled into us early in my career of having a bedside manner and being a hands-on doctor. We no longer want to diagnose a condition because of what we see and feel and hear from the patient. We wait for the equipment to tell us what is going wrong with the body, or we wait for the laboratories to come up with something or the other. And by and large, we haven't succeeded too well in that. And I started out medicine to be of use to people. That was the only reason. Actually, I had opportunities to have been anything from an aeronautics engineer to a mathematician. And I turned down all of them. Actually, my working life started in a bank. And I was offered the position to become a banker, and I turned it down, said the only thing I want to be is a doctor. And I eventually, by God's grace, became one in 1978. But over a period of about 10 to 12 years, I found that I was losing my comfort, because what I was doing wasn't exactly what I envisaged I would be doing. I was treating patients that kept coming back. That is the essence of medicine. That I treat you, you come back in a month, you come back in 2 weeks, and either we're dealing with the same issue or we're dealing with a different issue. And it's like a cycle that never ends. An experience I had when I sort of transferred to the United Kingdom because my parents were living in the UK was I returned from a trip to the UK, and one of my patients who brought a child to my clinic was screaming and yelling and shouting that when Dr. Ladeinde was here, he would treat my child once and my child will be well. Now you've treated him 5 times and we're not getting anywhere. And I said, hello. And he screamed and turned around as if she had seen a ghost. I arrived the evening before. That is the essence of what we are looking at. We do not treat patients, we treat disease profiles. And that upsets me a lot. And that
Yeah.
was why I took time out and I went back to school. I went to study nutrition. And that started at
If I
Plaster
may
Nutrition.
interrupt you, yeah,
Sorry?
just to ask, so to ask you, when you decided to go back to school, was it, and specifically to study nutrition, was it because you had observed in your practice at that time that the root cause of illness was what your patients were consuming, or was that more on a more intellectual level where you were realizing through research that was maybe becoming available to you that that could be the case?
I think it was just pure instinct. There wasn't any particular thing that was driving me, but I was looking for something that would add to what I already knew. And we've always had the saying, you are what you eat. So if you're what you eat, then it looks as if the place to start will be to look at what you're eating. And I went to Plaskett Nutritional Medicine College, which was on Tottenham Court Road in London at the time. And Dr. Plaskett, who started it, asked me, Dr. Ladeinde, do you really want to study nutrition? Why? I said, I need to know a little bit more. And it was supposed to be an 18-month course. But at the end of 12 months, he said, Dr. Ladeinde, there's nothing more I can teach you. And I left there and went on to Institute of Optimum Nutrition. Now, those two experiences together changed my entire worldview of what medicine was supposed to be like.
And what would you say the essence of that teaching was?
The essence of it was that when you eat, what you put in your mouth makes a difference to how you look and how you feel. And it has gotten increasingly more specific over the years. I'll use an example. That was, I think, 2010. That was 2 years before we had the Olympics in London. When the World Health Organization had this mantra that you need to eat 3 to 5 portions of fruits and vegetables every day to avoid chronic degenerative diseases like diabetes and hypertension and kidney failure and cancer and all that. Now, that rule has changed over the years, and I think we are at the point now where they're advising that you need to be eating between 12 and 15 portions of fruits and vegetables. My question is, what is different? The difference is that the food we're eating has degenerated. And that has been proven by research. There is an American university, I think in Texas, that did a research that ended in the year 2000, looking over food that we're eating over a 50-year period. And they found that we had lost 64% of the nutrient value in the food that we're eating. That is, we lost 64% in the amount of calcium we're getting, 64% of the amount of iron we're getting, 64% of whatever vitamin that we're getting in. If we suddenly lost 64% over a 50-year period, and that was the year 2020, that was the year 2000, This is 25 years later. How much have we lost now?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we understand that the human body works primarily on what you give to it, the body is an amazing piece of equipment. I have seen people who are supposed to be close to death, and they were given the right kind of nutrients, and they turned the field around. It's not the doctor healing that patient, it's the body healing itself. Because if you give the body what it needs for it to be able to function, it will function perfectly.
Mm.
The human body is the only piece of equipment I know that will see a microorganism now. I don't care whether it's a bacterium or a virus or whatever the microorganism is, however weird it may be. And it will take that microorganism, study it, and have a memory of it in its database while it is producing what will deal with that microorganism. And it will deal with the microorganism. And if the microorganism ever came back again, it will remember it perfectly and wipe it off within 2 minutes.
Yeah. And Doctor, what do you make of the fact that what we in our modern era consider food versus what we know food is or should be? You know, there's a whole education process that is required because modern day children think that McDonald's is food.
There was something that was said about 20, 22 years ago, that if it comes from a farm, eat it. If it comes from a factory, run away from it. How good food is for you is what occurs to the food between the farm and your table. And a whole lot of things has happened to food between the farm and the table. Some of it we are aware of, some of it we're not aware of. So let me use an example. If your grandfather took one orange and he benefited a lot from all the nutrients in it, including vitamin C, you at this point in time may need to take up to a dozen or a dozen and a half oranges to get the same amount that your grandfather got from one. We're headed for trouble. I said in a seminar quite a few years back that we can no longer eat our way out of trouble. It's not possible. There was a time when doctors would tell you that if you eat the right kind of diet, you will beat any disease. Maybe that was correct at that point in time. It is no longer correct now.
Yeah.
Most of the food we eat now will actually activate disease profiles rather than deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And how on the outskirts of the average are you in terms of your philosophy of wellness? When you sit in a room with your colleagues, tell me there are many of you that think the same way and live the same way and teach your patients the same way.
Less than 1%.
Oh my word. That's not good news.
My classmates are all professors of this and professors of that and consultants of this and consultants of that. And I have had, we still talk regularly. Actually, I still told some of them last week. I am no longer in the business of convincing anybody to do or not do anything. All I want you to see is see what the body can do. And once you see what the body can do, without all the limitations and all the poisons that we put into it every day, we'll all be blown away. The body is more than able to do what it was created to do.
Yeah.
Your body has probably about 12 to 15 systems, but the body behaves as if there is only a single system. right? If you look at your wristwatch, there are three wheels running inside it: the wheels for the seconds, the wheel for the minutes, and the wheels for the hour. There is no way any of those three wheels can function if the others are not functioning. It's exactly the same thing with the human body. It has 12 to 15 systems, but it behaves as if there is only one system. There is no way you can deal with a system and not affect all of the others. This is one of the reasons why I'll go to a hospital today. I have a problem with my cardiovascular system, my heart, my blood pressure, and all that. And the doctor gives me something to try to deal with that. When I come back tomorrow or the next week or the week after, I might have gotten over the problem with the heart and the blood vessels. I'll have another problem with my kidneys or with my liver or with my gut. It's what makes medicine go round. But to my mind, that is not the way it should be. If you want to deal with a particular system in the human body, you need to be aware of where every other single system is at that point in time. Because there is a cascade. If you deal with one, I learned it the hard way as a young doctor in 1980. I was treating a young man for high blood pressure. I messed up his entire reproductive system, and he lost a family because of it. Because the medication I was giving him was affecting his reproductive system, although it was bringing down his blood pressure, it was doing damage somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is one thing we have refused to face up to. We give a drug. The drug has side effects as long as my arm. So the drug might be useful in one aspect, but it is causing damage in another aspect. Now, what medicine will tell you is that what is the profitability? How important is it? Is it important for you to have your blood pressure controlled? And while you're doing that, you're having your kidneys damaged. It's not a choice anybody can make, or it's not a choice anybody should be forced to make, especially when it is possible to deal with all of them at the same time. I look at the human body and I said the one thing we failed at is that we have not been taught to look at the human body as a single entity. It's one organism.
Yeah.
It's not the eye and the neck and the throat and the whatever all cobbled together. They all work as one.
That's right.
And if we do not deal with them as one, we will pay the price.
And now you're speaking largely physically, you know, as a medical doctor, we're talking about the organism and the organs and all the symptoms of our body, or that our body may be expressing. But as we well know here, and I think you're probably preaching to the converted here.
Converted here, yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm preaching to the choir.
yeah, but we are so aware of you know, you talk about blood pressure, and so we obviously look at nutrition, but we also look at stress, our lifestyle. So we talk about our mental well-being, our emotional well-being, and physical exercise and the role that that plays. And so the question is, for yourself and for your patients and for your own lifestyle, how important is it, and what do you advocate? What do you suggest to your patients?
My suggestion to every patient is to respect your body. Your body was not created to be a couch potato. Most of us sit on our backsides for 20 out of 24 hours a day, or maybe 16 out of 24 hours a day. Whether the sitting on our backside is at work or at some other place, you're still sitting on your backside. 56% of the blood vessels in your body happen to be between your waist and your legs. You need to move those blood vessels and move the blood in them for your cardiovascular system to work efficiently. And because we fail to do that, as we get older, by the time we hit 50 or 60, you find that your legs are swelling. And why is that happening? Because the blood that is pushed to the legs and the feet to supply oxygen and nutrients to your members at the lower end cannot go back up. So it's filling up in the area. And if we continue to do what we're doing at the moment, things would only get worse, not better. We need to understand, apart from what you've just raised, what occurs to me is that in most medical suits, we look at infections as the fault of organisms, right? Microorganisms, yeah, you have this virus, you have this bacterium, you have this mycotoxin, you have this fungus, you have this, whatever it may be. But we forget one fact, and the fact is this, that we have more bacterial or microbial DNA in our bodies than we have human DNA.
Mm.
In your gut alone, even though your body cells total a number of about 30 trillion, the microbes in your gut are 300 trillion. They outnumber your cells 10 to 1. And they determine whether you're well or not. 70 to 75% of the serotonin, your feel-good hormone, which either lifts your depression or makes you more depressed if you don't have enough of it, is created in your intestine. As doctors, we try to give you something. When they say you are depressed, we give you SSRIs, all right? Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. We're trying to hold on to the serotonin in your brain. That's your happy hormone, right? We're trying to hold on to it and giving drugs that will not allow the body to break it down. I think, in my opinion, it will make more sense to support the soldiers in your gut that produce the serotonin. So you produce more.
Yeah.
But we keep throwing antibiotics into the gut. And you wipe out a whole lot of the community of microorganisms that are living for you.
Mm-hmm.
And once you do that, all sorts of major problems will follow through on that. On your skin alone, you have trillions of bacteria. They live there. One of the machines that makes energy for you is called a mitochondrion. That mitochondrion used to be a bacterium that was living in the sea on its own, independently, before it was incorporated into the human body. Now, without the mitochondria, you can't produce energy. And some of what we eat or fail to eat can help or disturb the mitochondria from being able to generate energy. I have patients that come to me and say, I feel washed out. I have no energy. I feel tired. You're not generating the energy that you need. There could be 1,000 different reasons for that. But the first one is to respect the food you eat and the water you drink. Whatever you put in your mouth has a consequence. It is either helping your body or it is destroying it. There is no middle ground.
Yeah. May I ask a question then? So I want to steer the conversation a little bit towards the X39 patch. So I'm going to ask you two questions. The one is, what I've noticed in my experience thus far is that many patients start changing the way they eat once they start patching, but it doesn't seem to necessarily be intentional. So they no longer crave, say, chocolate, which they used to have to eat every single day. They still enjoy it, but they no longer compulsively need to consume it. So maybe you can explain how, if that's something that you've observed as well, and maybe how that works. And then I'd like to also add on, maybe just for those that are not part of Lifewave yet, you could maybe just explain the mode of action of the patch.
Right. I would ask the question as a leader to that. The question is, why do you eat? And I'll answer
Okay.
the question.
Mhm.
There are only two reasons why you eat. You eat to supply energy, and you need to supply nutrients. Unfortunately for the human race, over the generations, what has happened is that what we provide to the body supplies more energy than nutrients, right? So there is surfeit of energy. We eat so much carbohydrates and sort of junk foods that we're providing a lot of energy. Now the body is overloaded with that energy, and what does the body do with it? It converts all the excess energy into fat, because fat is the most reasonable way for the body to store excess energy. But you are not providing the nutrients that the body needs to function. So what will happen is that your body will keep you eating until you provide the nutrients. And that is actually the basis of what is called compulsive eating. I notice young men, let's take the Americans for example, because they are the easiest dogs to flog. You have a young American walking along New York, and he's already wearing a shirt that is 4X, right? But what is he eating? He's eating a large burger and a double Coke, right? All that is going to provide for him is plenty of sugar and plenty of things that will supply energy, but it is zero nutrients. Virtually every disease that we know of, that we are trying to take care of, is down to the deficiency of nutrients. If you come to me with a headache and I give you an aspirin to try and deal with your headache, it is not because your body is deficient in aspirin. No. I had a blow away experience once with a young woman. She was about 25. She had severe migraine, and she was in so much pain that she couldn't even open her eyes. So they led her into my clinic, like as a blind man or as a blind woman, right? And what did I do? I sat her in a chair. Gave her a glass bottle, cold water, 2 liters, and I gave her a glass. Can you please drink that water slowly for me? And I left her. I continued with my other consultations. I came back to her 90 minutes later and I said, how is your headache? And she said, the headache is gone. All the body was telling her was that she was dehydrated. She wasn't drinking enough water. You see, the skull that we have is a closed box, right? And the blood vessels that run up and down, round and about, are living in that box. If your blood is too thick, what's going to happen? As the heart pumps, the blood vessels will be banging against the inside of your skull.
Mm.
That is essentially what is causing your migraine. And when that young woman took plenty of water, the blood thinned out. And as the blood thinned out, the headache disappeared. And a lot of the things we try to fight are in the same ballpark. When the body sends you a signal, a symptom, whether it is headache or backache or dizziness or whatever the symptom is only a signal from the body that there is something not right. But what we do as doctors is we treat that symptom, not what is causing the symptom. What we need to do is to deal with what is causing the symptom, and the symptom will go away.
Absolutely.
Yes, and that brings me to your second question, which was about the Lifewave patches and what people eat.
Yeah, and why the compulsion drops away.
Well, the compulsion will drop away. So once you get the body to where it is comfortable, there is no compulsion. Early in my practice, well, in the rural areas in Nigeria where I grew up, and in Lagos where I started practice as a doctor, we have this situation where some women will go out and eat sand when they're pregnant. Why is that? Why are they doing that? Because they're missing something that was available in the sand, mostly silicon, right? And once they get that silicon, they're fine. It's not food, but they're needing to replace something. And that is what the body demands. For a woman who's pregnant, the baby in her is a complete parasite. If that baby needs 10 units of iron and you have only 5, it will take all your 5, and it will take every unit that you put in after that until it's got the 10 that it needs. You're the one going to suffer. And that happens across the board. The body demands nutrients. If the nutrients are not available, then disease profiles will occur. So why does it change when you find yourself using some of the Lifewave products? Because these patches, in my mind, they are magical. I said at a meeting in London that I had been working for 45 odd years as a doctor, but that these patches to me represent the missing bit of a jigsaw puzzle, because I see the human frame as a jigsaw puzzle you're trying to put together when it is no longer functioning like it should.
Yeah.
Now, these patches actually are the missing pieces in a jigsaw puzzle. And once you lock them in, the body will say, thank you very much. And it will then begin to operate smoothly as it was meant to. A young child, 5-year-old, breaks an arm, right? There's no doctor around. You hold the arm with a ruler and you keep the bone straight and you wrap a bandage around it. And in 5 days, that child is already running around. If you do an X-ray of the arm, it's formed a callus at the point where there was a break. All right, a callus is like a band-aid that the body has put between the two bones, all right, and that junction is going to be stronger than the main bone itself. If it happens in 5 to 10 days in a young 5-year-old, how long do you think it's going to take for you or me to begin to form a callus? It's going to take quite a while.
Yeah.
But the difference is this: your body has certain things called stem cells. The stem cells are the body's repairers. They do what the body wants done. If, for example, you have a problem with your heart or with your eye, your body detects that there is a problem there and sends stem cells there to go and see what the problem is. And those stem cells, you know why they're magical? Because they can remove the cell that is not working properly and replace that cells with themselves. That is why we call them pluripotential. They have a potential of doing many things at the same time. They can replace your eye cell, they can replace your tongue cell, they can replace your heart cell, they can replace your muscle cell. But the key is this: when you're a very young child, you have trillions of these stem cells available. And that's why you heal so efficiently and so quickly. By the time you turn 30, you probably lost about 50% of the capacity of your stem cells. By the time you're 60, in my opinion, you'll be lucky if you have 10% left. Now, that is what is responsible for the signs of aging that we see, the wrinkles, the gray hairs like I got in my head. And if there is anything that could allow the body to re-trigger those stem cells to come back to what they were doing when you were younger, wouldn't you go after it? And that is what happens for the different types of patches that are available. There are quite a number of them, and each one has an area that it works most efficiently in. The driver is the X39. That is the one that actually triggers your stem cells to do repair work. There are others that can reduce your inflammatory processes. There are others that can help your body to control your hormones and control your need to eat, or your need to eat certain things that may not be good for you. And on and on and on like that. But what I think we need to pay attention to is the capacity and the ability of the body to heal itself. These patches do not heal you. The body heals itself. All the patches do is create the environment that takes the body back to what it was normally able to do, but is no longer able to do for some reason. And that is why the cornerstone of my practice at the moment is looking at the blood. The blood is the critical firm base for anything that goes on in the body. I said before that you have 30 trillion cells. There's only one thing that touches every single one of those cells, and that's your blood. So if there is anything going wrong in the body, where would it be first to find it? In the blood. Unfortunately, we have forgotten the art of looking in the blood for what may be wrong. There are signals in the blood 2, 3, maybe 4 years before any disease occurs that you will know that there is this disease profile coming. It's still 3 years away, still 4 years away. But if you look in the blood, you can find it. When we do blood tests these days, what we're trying to do is we're trying to confirm a disease profile that has already happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't believe that is the way to do it. I want to find out the red flags. What are the possibilities? Then we can determine where we need to support the body to do the work that it is well able to do by itself.
Yeah. And I was so grateful, Dr. Olufemi, is when you shared with me the vast blood work markers that you wanted us to have prior to starting with X39. It's quite a full panel. Am I using the right language?
Yeah, it's a biomarker panel, yes.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And so I would then assume that for every patient that you start on X39, that you first send them for blood tests before, and then you test every 6 months from there. What is your protocol?
I would prefer to have a patient do a full blood profile, because that is what is then going to show me what that patient has as a deficiency, or what red flags there are for us to see to prevent something from happening. Without that, I am doing what is called guesstimating. I'm just guessing at what may be wrong and what we may need to do to make it right. I refuse to guess, especially when the body is giving you what you need to see. Just take a look and you will find out what may be going wrong. And the minute you find it and you correct it, everything goes back to being normal. I've asked some of my patients that have high blood pressure, said, what caused your high blood pressure? Why do you have high blood pressure? Over the ages between 12 and 16, nobody worries about your blood pressure. Even when you enter your 20s and your 30s, very few people worry about your blood pressure. But most blood pressure patients or high blood pressure patients are discovered by accident. Usually what happens is they go to a clinic or to a hospital with somebody else whose blood pressure was being checked. And they say, oh, let me check mine as well. And you check yours and they say, oh my goodness, what have you got? And that is the beginning of a journey. But discovering that your blood pressure is high is not the same thing as dealing with it. Because I've told people, you can take medications for your high blood pressure. It's like trying to use your finger to stop the pressure in a pressure cooker. At some point, it's going to blow your finger off. And the fact that you're using medication to treat a particular thing does not mean that the damage that it's supposed to be doing is not going on. I tell some of my patients that there are 3 disease profiles that are triplets. They were born of the same mother on the same day. And if you get one, you will certainly get the other 2, except if you deal with that first one ruthlessly. High blood pressure, kidney failure, and what's the third one?
I don't know.
High blood glucose,
Because,
diabetes, hypertension, kidney failure. The triplets, they work together.
okay,
But if you get the first one and you deal with it ruthlessly and you get rid of it, the other 2 won't come in.
okay,
But if you have high blood pressure and we're massaging it with giving you this tablet or that tablet or the other tablet, we're not dealing with the foundational cause.
yeah,
And until we deal with that, we're not getting rid of the blood pressure. Before you know it, it brings its brother in and the kidneys become damaged. Now you're dealing with kidney failure. Because the same blood vessels that go around your body supply your kidneys with the blood that it's supposed to filter. And if the blood vessels are in trouble, your kidney's in trouble.
yeah,
Dr.
The same blood vessels supply your pancreas that generates the insulin that you use to manage your blood glucose. If that damage occurs there, then you have a problem dealing with glucose. Usually what happens is the blood sugar thing happens first. It's quiet, it's silent, nobody thinks about it. But the blood sugar thing usually happens first on the average.
yeah,
And when you have the high blood pressure thing, look at your blood vessels. There are over 600,000 miles of blood vessels in your body. It's like a pipe. It has 3 layers. What happens is that the middle layer of that 3-layered pipe is something that we call a smooth muscle, right? It's flexible. When your heart is pumping, it can relax and allow the blood to flow through without any problem. But at some point, it becomes stiff and rigid and is no longer able to relax. We call that arteriosclerosis or a hardening of the arteries. That is step 1 of your high blood pressure. If you do not get rid of that step 1, you cannot get rid of the step 2, which we give the name atherosclerosis, and that is the one doctors focus on.
yes,
We focus on the atherosclerosis, or we say it is the cholesterol that is clumping up your blood vessels. The cholesterol is not the culprit. The cholesterol is trying to repair damage that was done because of the hardening of the arteries. And until you repair the hardening of the arteries, you cannot get rid of high blood pressure. It doesn't matter how many tablets you take.
yeah. So then the question is, what do we do to prevent high blood pressure?
You get the calcium out of your blood vessel
And how do we do that?
because it is the calcium that is instilled in the smooth muscle coat that makes the smooth muscle coat become hard. Well, anywhere calcium goes becomes hard. It's in your teeth are hard. It's in your nails are hard. right? It's in
Yeah.
your bones are hard. So when you have it deposited in the smooth muscle coat of your blood vessels become hard and stiff. And the only thing I have come across that can get rid of it is something called vitamin K2, menaquinone, because it will then gradually take the calcium out of the blood vessels and put it back in your bones and in your teeth and in your hair, which is where it belongs. And once your blood vessel get rid of the calcium, it becomes flexible again, automatically your blood pressure will drop.
And
It's
that's
not
vitamin K?
K2. There are three moieties of vitamin K. You have K1, you have K2, you have K3.
Yeah.
It's vitamin K2 that is critical.
And am I mistaken in saying that that is found in beef, in meat, right?
Not in meat specifically. There are vegetables and other things that you can find vitamin K2 in, but that will be too large a topic to jump into at this point.
Okay. We'll have to
But
do a series.
it's available to you as a tablet if you want.
Okay.
It is. And there is one other vitamin that is as critical. We call it the sunshine vitamin. What is that
Oh,
vitamin?
Vitamin
yeah.
D.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D.
Yeah.
It is critical to a number of body systems, including your immune function. Actually, a lot of the patients who have cancer have deficient vitamin D,
Yeah.
particularly if they happen to be dark skinned like me. Those of us who are dark skinned have a, a standard deficiency of vitamin D
Mm.
because the melanin in the skin prevents the rays of the sun from getting under your skin to instigate the change of your fat under your skin to vitamin D. That is the conversion. People like you who are light skinned, so when you stand in the sun for a bit, what happens? You turn brown.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is trying to protect itself. It begins to change the melanocyte to change your color. But while you're doing that, your body is able to make vitamin D from the sun. For example, if I took a young woman of your age, status, and size, and I stuck her in the sun, and she happens to be a black woman, where you will take 30 minutes to make enough vitamin D for one day, she will take 3 hours. That is a big difference.
Yeah.
And the deficiency of vitamin D has been implicated in many disease profiles, including immune functioning capabilities, which leads to cancers,
Yeah.
and in a whole range of other things. I mean, you need vitamin D, for example, to be able to metabolize your glucose properly.
Yeah.
But you're opening a huge window.
We certainly are. And I know that Helen wants to bring some questions on from the chat. But before I give Helen the stage, just let me please pass on a message. Our common friend George has said he's so sorry that he can't be here this evening to listen to this talk. It's 3 a.m. where he is in Thailand at the moment.
Mhm.
And he was just so grateful that you are here talking to our community this evening, and he asked to send his blessings.
I'm grateful to George. George is an amazing man, and I'm waiting to see how much better he is by the time he comes back from Thailand.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sorry that we're running out of time. There was so much I still wanted to ask you, particularly about maybe your own personal testimony with Lifewave. If you have anything to share.
Oh yes, I mean there is tons to share. I actually ignored Lifeway for 2 years. Somebody told me about it, and I said, okay, I'll take a look at it. And 2 years later, another person spoke to me about what the patches could do. And the science alone was what caught my attention. I said, hold on a minute. If it's able to do that, then there are a zillion things we can use it for. So I called the first person who told me, And I said, have you heard about this and that and that? And she said, Doc, but I told you about it 2 years ago. And I said, okay, fine. I'm going to jump on board and pick up something. And I did. And it actually arrived on my birthday. And one of the ladies who came to rejoice with me on my birthday had a major problem. She had these dizzy spells, and if she's going down the stairs from her house, she has to go down on hands and knees to be able to do it. And I said, okay, I've just got something that might be interesting. And I put an X39 patch on the back of her neck. I said, let's see what that does for you by the time it's morning. This was about 8 o'clock in the evening. And she called me in the morning and said, Doc, what is in that patch that you gave me? I said, I don't know. And she said, I got to bed, I rolled to one side, I wasn't dizzy. I rolled to the other side, I wasn't dizzy. And I got up this morning and I was able to walk down the stairs. That was magical. And I have a grandson who's 18 now, who had severe eczema. Both of his forearms were covered in sores. And I gave his mother a pack of X39. I said, use that for him. And she called me the following morning and said, Dad, what's in this patch? I said, I don't know. And she said, Malachi's eczema has disappeared by 50%. And that was overnight. Now, what really caught my attention is that there was something like a tiny boil on his chest, in the middle of his chest. In medicine, we call it a pustule, right? It was there when he was going to bed. When he woke up, it had dried out. That was my being. George is the one that used to say, you first need to get it in your head, but you get it from your head into your heart. Now, that event was what took it from my head as a scientist to my heart. And it made a complete believer of me. I can tell you 1,000 different stories of magic that has happened with the different parties that I have used for different people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a hypertensive woman who was able to regain the use of her arms and legs after 5 days. She had a stroke and she had been in that trouble for 3 years. But I gave her just 5 pieces of X39, 5 pieces of Eon, and I told her how to use it. 4 days after, the doctor called me, there is something happening to mom. She was able to go to the bathroom herself without help. First time in 3 years.
Dr. Olufemi.
And so that is extraordinary for you. I mean, when we talk about a holistic approach to wellness, and we're talking about nutrition and lifestyle and stress management and exercise, these are such important components. But what a miracle it is to be able to patch someone that is so deep in, where the symptoms are just so overwhelming that they can't catch their breath enough to do the exercise they need, take the stress relief they need, because they are in constant pain and have lost hope. So it is a miracle.
That is the beauty of it. But not everybody will have that miracle moment. For some people, it could take up to 3 months or even longer for them to get the effect that they expect. But I will say this one now quickly before time runs out completely. Your body holds the hierarchy of need. Your body knows what it needs, all right? So you may have a pain in your knee and you're patching to get rid of the pain in your knee. If your body believes that your liver is in more dire danger than your knee is, it will go to your liver first and correct whatever may be wrong with your liver. You may be saying, but nothing is happening in my knee. Leave that alone. Your body is determining where it needs to deal with first.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you
Olufemi.
so much for that.
Yeah.
Helen, over to you.
Thank you. Dr. Olufemi, you have given us a wealth of knowledge tonight. You have truly given us so many golden nuggets. We've written down so many points, and I certainly believe that everyone needs to listen to this call again to absorb the wealth of information that you have shared with us today. And I want to thank you from our hearts for doing that. Plus, you've given us such a global perspective, an overall perspective, that this body that was designed by a manufacturer, being the intelligent body that it is, to be able to go and do what it needs to once that X39 stem cell reactivation patch is placed on it. I think that we need to have another session with you, because there is so much more to ask of you and questions that I'm sure the audience would love to hear more of. We see that from what you've stated, before we just manage the calls, the questions in the chat, you've mentioned that we are what we eat, and that is through all our senses, physically, mentally, spiritually, through the mouth, through the ears, through the eyes, etc. And we need to be so disciplined in what we do with this divine design. Now, people think that the patches are going to, once they're placed, are going to suddenly just perform these miracles. And you've opened the eyes to the audience to say that, yes, the patches are going to stimulate your stem cells. Yes, they're going to go to work and repair and regenerate the organs and the tissues. But we have such a responsibility to eat well, to sleep, to drink that water, to add electrolytes into the water to keep the body nice and moist, so that the frequencies are passed through the bloodstream. We need to exercise. We need to have that balance, because we have the intelligence, but we do ourselves so much harm. And Dr. Olufemi, I just want to ask you something, please, because a lot of people, before we ask the questions, are asking when they approach people what they are suffering from, and then trying to sort of prescribe the patches. And we are not doctors. We don't have your information. So I want to just ask you to confirm that when we do speak to people that cross our path, and we certainly want to encourage them to build a healthier, to reach that optimum state of health using the patches, that just a simple protocol can be used. And do you agree? Or let me ask you what your thoughts are on that. There's only one patch that is truly a one that they need to start with. And if there is a second one, I know it is to reduce the inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So would you agree with that? That we are not doctors on the call, some of us, and that we shouldn't try and diagnose, because Lifewave patches are not there to treat, cure, or diagnose anything or anyone. And that we always do need to consult our doctors for their view, especially when people are taking medication, etc., and are suffering from very, potent conditions. So do you agree with that? That the first thing that you do mention to them, the two patches, or one at least, that you'll recommend is the X39.
Absolutely. We even those of us who have been in Lifewave for some time tend to get into the mind frame of looking at the patches as another drug.
Correct.
I have this condition. Which patches will get rid of it? The patches in and of themselves will not get rid of any condition. What the patches will do is support the body to begin the process of reaching a balance. That's what the body wants to do. And it's a mistake to begin to think about a patch dealing with a particular disease profile, because it's a wellness product. It's not a drug. The patch itself does not put anything in your body. It just takes the light coming from your body and reflects it back into the body. That is where all the magic happens. Your body is doing the work by itself. It's not the patch that is doing the work. And when you're using a patch, it's like you're bringing builders into your property and you want to rebuild a section of it. You've given them some sand, you've given them some bricks, you've not given them any cement. Now, that is where your nutrients come in. That is where the electrolytes come in. That is where the food you're eating comes in. If you're not providing those nutrients, there is very little the patches can do. Because what you're asking the patches to do is to get your workmen working. And if your workmen do not have the tools to work with, you're wasting your time.
Correct.
And the other thing that happens with these patches that I know of, to talk about it in specific will take too much time, is that once you stimulate the body to do something, the one thing that is troubling the body most is the presence of high levels of toxins. So the body is going to attempt to get rid of those toxins. In that process, you may feel a little bit worse than before you started. That is par for the course. You're going through a healing crisis. Your body is trying to get rid of the dirt that was creating a problem, while it then sets up the stage to begin to repair. You cannot get away from that. That is why you need to drink water. And if you drink water, you need to know what kind of water you're drinking. Some of the
Yes, that's
water we're drinking these days is full of rubbish.
correct.
And
And
you're
Dr.
actually adding more problems to the body than you are taking any problem away from the body.
Absolutely, and I think that one day Tanya will host a meeting discussing this whole importance and significance of water. Let's move over. Thank you, Dr. Olufemi. Let's move over to the questions in the chat, if I may. And Joy is asking, why are so many children born with food intolerances, especially peanuts? Example, peanuts and peanut allergies. Sorry, specifically peanut allergies.
Allergies are results of damage to the gut. And if children are born with allergies, look to the mother. Because the children can use only what they get from source. And when the mother is not eating well enough and she doesn't have enough nutrients in place for the growing fetus to develop all of the beautiful things that it needs to be able to grow up while still a little child, then you're likely to get into serious trouble further down the line. Part of the other thing that is happening is that these days, most of our babies are taken out of the womb and you stick a feeding bottle in their mouths. They're supposed to be breastfed. I told my daughter when she had my grandson who had this magical moment with patches that you're going to breastfeed him for 2 years. At the end of 3 months, they said, oh no, he's not satisfied with breast milk. We're going to use this and we're going to use that. I said, you use it at your peril. They started using a formula, and within the first month, he grew these eczematous lesions. I was prepared to cry with him when it started happening. And it has stayed with him for 18 years until we came across the patches.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So again, we're coming back to the nutrients. If there is an allergy to a nut, to whatever it is one, the body is not breaking down the nuts or whatever it is that is causing the allergy to the point where it can be absorbed. So part of that nut or that food or whatever is causing the allergy is getting through the absorption barrier without being completely digested. Your body's soldiers will see it as a stranger because it's not supposed to cross the barrier at that point. And once the body soldier sees it, they'll mount an offensive against it. And that is what you call your allergy. And if you look at serious allergies like rheumatoid arthritis, for example, it happens because there was an infection somewhere, right? There was a microorganism somewhere. And the body chose to use its soldiers to go after that invader. And that invader happens to hide in your joint, your body will destroy the entire joint first because there is something it's trying to go after. But we do not deal with that. We throw a lot of things into the system to try and quieten the. Look, if you dampen your immune system, you're looking for trouble because that is your internal police, right? And every time we take an antibiotic, we're doing serious damage to our internal policeman. We cannot afford to keep doing that. Otherwise, we will reap the consequences. And actually, I'm seeing patients that are beginning to reap those consequences every day.
Correct. Thank you, Dr. Olufemi. Tell us, Ellie's asking, in your opinion, why has there not been a greater uptake from medical doctors for this technology? We do understand why, but just in a nutshell.
It's simple to understand.
Yes.
As doctors, we believe we are next to God. We tell you, you do it. End of story. But the unfortunate thing is that as doctors, a lot of us don't understand the human body. We don't know what the body wants. What we want to try to do is tell the body what to do. You can do that for a little while, and then the body will say, no, oh no, I'm not going down that road again. And that is when trouble begins. Because your drugs will then no longer work. I'll use another quick example. You have an arthritis, you're 40 plus, and you go to your GP and he says, oh, I'm sorry, but you're getting old, and that is what is happening. That's fine. So we'll give you an ibuprofen, or we'll give you a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. And what we're doing is quietening down the pain. We're not doing anything to deal with the problem. Because what your body has done is that it set a barrier, it set policeman at a level in the cushion that is in your joint, that when it wears up to a certain level, signals will come. That is the signal you were getting. The body is saying, hey, the parts between your joints are beginning to wear too thin. You need to do something about it. That's when you feel the pain. Now, what we treat as doctors is we treat the pain, and the pain goes away. But the wearing continues, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because we've done nothing about that. As the wearing continues, it then wears to another level that the body has already marked. And at that point, you now have triple the number of pain sensors that is going to come. That is when you can drink a whole drum full of ibuprofen and it will have no use. The pain's not going to go away. The end of the line is they're going to take away your joint and put a plastic joint in it. We call it a joint replacement. Is it necessary? In my opinion, no, it isn't.
No.
If you had listened to the body originally and done the few things that needed to be done, that providing the nutrients, the calcium, the phosphorus, the boron, the vitamin D, the vitamin K, the body will itself create the new joint and the pain will go away.
Yes. I think that this technology is going to be more how can I say, it's going to come to doctors' attention through the people in the community that are using this and giving their great testimonies, and that the need for medical intervention is going to reduce because the body is going to be so much healthier, so much quicker. And the medical fraternity are certainly making a lot of money from the conventional methods, but that's fine. We're all here to share and learn and go, and we respect all medical support, you know, the surgeries, the medicine, etc. But we do want to stay we do definitely want to pursue the non-invasive route as the first option as far as possible. Dr. Olufemi, that he is 1% of doctors that see, Ellie's saying that the Dr. O, that is, he is the 1% of doctors that see the human being in a holistic manner. Most are educated in prescribing medication to manage systems, not looking for the root cause. Absolutely, yes. Another question, Dr. Olufemi, for you. What would be the best way to stimulate nerves and to boost the neurological activity post-operation, post-surgery?
Post-surgery, now it depends on which nerve you're trying to boost. You see, you have several networks of nerves, and you can cut them down into 3 levels. The ones that cover your head and your neck, right? And there are nerves that come out of the brain. We call them the cranial nerves, right? The top 10. The 10th cranial nerve comes out of the back of your ear and enters your chest from the front. We call it the vagus nerve. It's like a vagrant. It walks all over the place. And the vagus nerve touches every single organ in between your neck and your bottom. There is no organ in your body that it does not touch. In the old days, when there is a problem in the gut that we couldn't get hold of, surgeons will carry out what we call a vagotomy. They will cut the vagus nerve at the point where it enters the neck. The symptoms will subside for a couple of months, but then there will be an uproar, and the patient will prefer to have died than to have had that first operation.
Wow.
But we no longer, I don't think we have vagotomies being done these days anymore, but that was something that we were doing thinking that we're dealing with a symptom. And that is what doctors have more or less become. We're symptom detectives. You have a headache, take an ibuprofen. You have a backache, take and take whatever it is. And we keep pushing in that direction, failing to understand that the body is sending a signal for a purpose. For example, if you have a disease like what multiple sclerosis, what is the signal? You're holding a cup of tea and your hand is shaking so badly that you can't get that cup of tea to your mouth without spilling 50% of it. But why did that happen? It happens because the covering for your nerves, we call it myelin sheath, is being stripped away and it's not being replaced. So the message that is supposed to be sent from your brain to your hand to lift up the cup of tea so that you can drink it is getting lost along the way. So it's only coming through in bits. And that is what is causing the shaking of the hands. It means your fat profile is not good enough. This is where I come back to the cholesterol. The cholesterol is pure, the myelin sheath that covers your nerve is pure cholesterol. So if you don't have a good enough level of cholesterol, you're likely to suffer from something like multiple sclerosis. But that is the difficulty in trying to deal with symptoms, single symptoms, without looking beyond that symptom to seeing what is causing it.
It's very important to find the root cause of what a person's going through, right, Dr. Olufemi?
Always.
And I see here in the chat, thank you, Tanya, for answering most of the questions here. The people who are wanting to find out more about about the patches and the technology behind it. Tanya, if you could just put the website in the chat, please. If you could all just please log into the thisisit.info.com website, which Steve and Gina Merritt have graciously put together for us. That is our go-to place in order to find out more about the science, the technology. David Schmidt, the founder and the inventor and our CEO, our patents, the scientific research, the case studies. You are more than welcome to go and delve and have a very deep dive into every aspect of Lifewave itself. Please do take the time to do that, because there's such a wealth of information there, and we've literally just scraped the surface. There's so much more. It's such an incredibly interesting industry that we're in right now, and this topic called stem cells, which has become the buzzword in regenerative science and medicine, is truly transformational. And we are so blessed and honored, aren't we, Tanya, to be able to have this technology in our hands where people can reactivate their own body stem cells, creating that, utilizing the body being its powerhouse to bring it back into its state of homeostasis, normality, and optimum health. We will be looking at Tanya, I think there's so much to share, and I think we've got so much that we can assist the community with in the future, which we'll certainly work on. Sorry,
I
Paul,
think,
you mentioned.
Helen, just to say that we will definitely invite, if Dr. Olufemi would enjoy to do so, and other doctors to maybe go through one patch a week. You know, we can talk about glutathione, I'm sure, for a few a few calls,
few
but
days, yes.
just to do a nice overview for those that are interested in future calls, that would be wonderful.
Definitely, because there's so much to discuss. And as Dr. Olufemi had mentioned, that every organ is so intricate and it's it's complicated, and there's so much there, and it's got its own, there's a world of information for every little atom in our body, every cell, every nerve, every fiber, every muscle, every tissue, tendon. The way that it works is intricate and yet so beautifully designed. We are so gracious. Tanya, thank you so much for tonight. We're honored, and I'm so honored and privileged to be here with both of you. Dr. Olufemi, thank you for allowing us the time, the people that stood on the call with us. Thank you. We did overstep the time, but we just so thankful that you did. We know your time is so precious, and you are precious to us, and we'd like you to also maybe just forward your questions to us so that we can put together wonderful sessions and presentations to accommodate and the community. That's what we're here for, to put all the expertise of these wonderful people in the community together to assist one another. So Tanya, thank you so much.
Thank you, Helen, and thank you, Dr. Olufemi. It was a pleasure to have you on the call tonight.
Thank you.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you very much.
God bless
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you so much. Take care and have a blessed week, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. All the best then. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.